Okay, I will put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And those in the chambers are Councillor Gibson, Councillor Prince, Councillor Lovell, Councillor Clark, Councillor Campbell, Councillor O'May. Are you in favour?
Yes, Mayor, my hand's up.
Thank you. And Councillor Newell?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. So that's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Legislative items. No legislative items? Okay. You right? Yep. Okay, so number 6, urgent matters. General Manager, are there any urgent matters?
Yes, Mayor, as circulated and also available on our website, there's 2 matters under the urgent heading. The first one being the Gippsland Town Hall Controlling Authority Director vacancy, and again I'll take the information there read. And the second one being the Tas Water Owners Representative Group, representative appointments. Again, I'll take it as read as being circulated and on our website.
Yep. Okay, so I'll refer the councillors to the recommendation. So do I have councillor to move the motion? Councillor Gibson.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. General Manager, do we have any announcements?
We do, Mayor. The first is just, as some people will be aware, on Friday the 18th of March 2022, Beck Enders advised me of her resignation as Mayor and as a Councillor of the Huon Valley Council effective immediately. I've advised the Tasmanian Electoral Commission and the Director of Local Government of the receipt of Beck Enders' letter of resignation. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Deputy Mayor Sally Doyle will undertake the role of Acting Mayor until the certificate of election has been issued for the council elections due to be held in October 22. A casual vacancy for the role of council will also remain in place for that period. An appointment of an acting Deputy Mayor will be considered by councillors at tonight's meeting. The agenda item is 15.010/22 in accordance with the Local Government Act.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, I did have another announcement that I just wanted to share. I guess disturbingly, it's come to my attention that there's an increasing trend of disrespectful comments and conversations occurring when interacting with our staff, and this is unacceptable. And I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the community members and our customers that the best outcomes will be achieved through calm and respectful conversations with the team. Therefore, I ask that you, the community and our customers, treat our people in the same manner as you expect to be treated by us. I understand that some community members and customers may be upset, but our people are doing the best in sometimes difficult and complicated circumstances. As well as supporting the health and wellbeing of our community, we have the duty of care towards our people who work with us and with us, for us. As we raise funds for mental health through the Hilltop Hike, we need to reflect on how these comments, communication and behaviours are reflecting on the mental health of our staff and our community.
Thank you, General Manager.
My pleasure.
That's a lot. Okay, so do I have any other councillors that have an announcement they wish to make? Yes, Councillor Lovell.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2. I just wanted to say a thank you to the former Mayor, Beck Enders, for her time on council, for the work that she put into our Huon Valley, the funding that she got for our Huon Valley, and I just I thank her for her mentorship while she was on council and her leadership, and congratulations, Sally, in your new position.
Thank you.
My other announcement is a friend of mine has launched a book in the Huon Valley. Kerry Coleman has just launched the Superpowered Lunchbox, which is something very exciting for her. She's worked on it for quite a while, and I hope that I'll be able to have her hopefully come to our health and wellbeing meeting and present that, because it does align with our strategy. So I just wanted to say congratulations to her.
Thank you very much. It sounds exciting. Anybody else have any announcements? Any announcements to our two gentlemen online?
No, Mayor.
I'm good, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll move on then. Okay, public participation. 8.1, public question time. Welcome to the public. If you have a question, as the chair, I will ask you to come forward to the microphone and identify yourself by name and area of where you live. To make things fair and equitable, we have a limit of 2 questions per person. We normally allocate 15 minutes for the question time. All questions asked must be directed to me as the chairperson. I will answer the question or refer the question to another councillor or the general manager. Or, if personal, I won't be answering it. Every attempt will be made to provide an answer to your question. Debate on questions cannot be entered into, and the council cannot make decisions on issues that arise in public question time. So 8.1.1 was the answers to previous questions taken on notice. Well, we have 2 questions that were taken on notice at February's meeting from Mr Pennell and Mr Swan. Both questions were answered in the documentation published on the website last Friday, but both gentlemen have resubmitted their questions today and will be read out later in the agenda when we get to questions without notice. 8.1.2, question on notice, answer to be given tonight. Kathy Temby, question was, my submission on 2019-20 annual plan as per 10th the 3rd 21 AGM minutes called for waste analysis and benchmarks from which we can assess our progress towards our objective. Council response was the breakdown of waste types and volumes will be further explored as part of the development of the waste strategy. If this level of analysis was not conducted in the development of the waste strategy, will councillors now to commit? Will they now commit to funding a waste audit in the budget for 2022-23 to inform strategic priorities? And the response to Ms Temby is, Year 1 of the draft waste strategy focuses on data capture and analysis with a waste audit being a key activity. Accordingly, a proposal has been made to fund these actions in the year 22-23 waste management budget. So thank you, Kathy, for that question. And then another question from Mr Swan will be the same. We will be answering that one in later with the other questions. Questions without notice. We will go to the gallery first before I read out the email questions. So, from the gallery. Any questions?
Good evening. My name's David Pennell. I'm a resident of Franklin. My questions are addressed to the Mayor as Chair. I am a long-standing member and supporter of the Franklin Working Waterfront Association, the non-for-profit organisation that administers the Wooden Boat Centre. I'm fully supportive of the boat building, training and tourism activities that the centre provides. I'm also supportive of a working waterfront in Franklin. Under the Huon Valley Council draft LPS, the particular purpose zone, i.e. Franklin Marine and Tourism Precinct, states to provide boat and shipbuilding activities alongside education, recreation and tourism activities. Boat building and shipbuilding are two distinct activities. Ships are categorised as deep water or ocean-going vessels. Where is this shipbuilding going to occur? Is the wooden boater, is it going to happen in the Wooden Centre car park, in the grassed area of the Living Boat Trust? Where are these ships to be launched? The downstream channel is 2 metres deep at high tide. This makes it restrictive on the maximum size of boats that can be built or launched in Franklin. So my question is the Huon Valley supportive of this change of use that includes shipbuilding in this zone, considering its adjacent proximity to the Franklin Heritage residential area? If the council is supportive, what rationale has the council's officers supplied in making this decision, considering that boat building and shipbuilding are two distinct activities? My second question, which
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, can we answer the
Yes,
first?
yep.
Yes. Okay. And do I answer this now, or would you rather I handed it on to the director or the acting director? Yep. Okay. If you'd like to take a seat, because the next question I'll ask you back up after I've asked everyone else, if that's all right, Mr. Penner. The response is the use classes of this particular purpose zone are carried forward from the interim planning scheme. Specifically, there is no change of use as boat and shipbuilding are both provided for under manufacturing and processing. Whilst these uses are consistent with the zone purpose, it should be noted that their application... I'm just reading that. It should be noted that their application adjacent to the Franklin Heritage residential area is constrained by the Franklin Heritage Specific Area Plan. Council is not intending to make a representation on this subject during the exhibition period. Okay, thank you. Can I have has anyone else got a question? Yeah, Dr. Smith?
Thank you. This question is addressed to you as Chair. Mayor, with reference to section 12 of the report under council workshops on page 35, a workshop was held on March 22nd at which, it's reported, Director Local Government led a discussion on the opportunity for councillors and staff to work in a more constructive way going forward. It's not clear whether this refers to councillors working together in a more constructive way and staff similarly working together independently of councillors in a more constructive way. Under the Local Government Act, councillors set policy but are not involved in operational matters and must not direct or attempt to direct an employee of the council in relation to the discharge of the employee's duty. That's section 28C of the Local Government Act. Operational matters are the responsibility of the General Manager, who is responsible for the day-to-day operations and affairs of the council, section 62C of the Local Government Act. So my questions are very short. Firstly, how many councillors attended the workshop? And please would you summarise the information that the Director of Local Government provided at that workshop?
Dr. Smith, I'll take that on notice and I'll have that answer sent to you.
Well, I would like to see it published at the next council meeting. And then the question which you will probably also take on notice is what changes are going to be put in place to enable councillors to work together more constructively, and how will staff also be encouraged to work together more constructively as a result of this workshop?
You're exactly correct, Dr. Smith. I'll take that on notice and I will let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Waterhouse?
Acting Mayor Doyle, Andy Waterhouse Ranelagh. This is a follow-up question that back in August 2021 that I asked from the floor at public question time about the progress with the Huon link, and asked the other question was, is there a time, a month, a year when starting? Now, with interest, I have the question through, is it Lachlan, that's right, it came through the chair through Lachlan. Now, what was said then about the progress, that the Berry consulting team were working on it, and it's a state growth project, and they were doing a risk assessment workshop next week. Project underway, project team, as we speak. That's 8 months. I'd like to know what is the progress. I did read that it's gone out to public consultation. I think that's putting it off longer and longer, and it's needed. Action's a magic word, so I ask the question, Acting Mayor Doyle, where are we at, what stage are we at present, please?
Thank you, Mr. Waterhouse. If you'd like to take a seat, I'll be able to get, through you, General Manager, would we be able to get the infrastructure?
Right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Here we go. Thank you, Lachlan.
Through you, Mayor. Hi, Andy. Thanks for the question. The project is still progressing according to the timeline that DSG set. So consultation has been completed. Detailed survey is well and truly underway. The section from from Knights Road or Sale Street down to the Channel Highway, the actual alignment design is complete in that area, including the referrals to the Federal Environmental Department that look after the threatened vegetation community there. So that was a significant project risk that's now been dealt with, and we're now moving into the detailed survey and design for the northern section on the other side of Sale Street. A DSG will be making some announcements relatively soon, is my understanding, once they have that ministerial support, having reviewed the community consultation and the recommendation from the department. Then that will be made public and referred through to council to amplify that statement on what the actual chosen route will be and what the project time frames for getting the project actually moving in a physical sense. So you'll be updated on that pretty shortly, is my understanding.
Thank you, Lachlan. Thank you.
Okay, do we have somebody else? Yes, come forward.
Archie Donnelly from Cygnus. The General Manager, in his monthly operational report, supplies the names of new arrivals and departures to the Council. I ask, does Lee Bradley still work for the Council? And if not, why was his departure from the Council not mentioned in the General Manager's operational report?
Thank you for that question. We'll be taking that on notice, thank you. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you. Mr. Donnelly, is there anybody else have a question? Would you like to come forward, Mr. Pennell? You had a second question.
Thank you, Chair. Is the Council aware of, this is a question I asked last month, is the Council aware of any proposal to dry berth the Cartila steamship on the Franklin foreshore? This could be dry berthing on foreshore land or on a barge. If the council is supportive of any proposal to dry berth the Cartilla in Franklin, what rationale has the council's officers supplied in making this decision?
Okay, thank you. I can answer. I've got those broken into two, but I can answer them for you. The response to the first part of the question, as per response in section 8.1.1, answers to previous questions taken on notice on page 3, the council is aware of discussions between the state government, the Steamship Cartilla Trust board members and other interested parties, which include the potential of a dry berth. Whether or not any formal proposals will be put forward is a matter for the board and the state government, who are supporting the Cartilla Trust and subject to meeting planning scheme requirements. The answer to the second bit is there is no proposal or application for the dry berthing of the Cartilla at Franklin before the council to form a view on whether the council would be supportive or otherwise for such a proposal. If an application is made in the future, the council will need to consider the application in accordance with the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 and the application planning scheme provisions. Thank you. Okay, we have no more questions from the gallery. I'll do questions via email. And we have a long one here from Jen Headaway, so bear with me, please. There is an immediate need for the Dover Medical Centre, part of the Esperance Multipurpose Health Centre proposed upgrade to proceed. Consulting and treatment rooms are required now. Doctors, registrars and their superiors initially attracted to Dover have no consulting rooms available to them in the present practice space. The poor facilities adversely affect attracting and retaining these specialists with the town's urgent needs. There is a new GP starting this week. There is a new registrar due to begin in Dover immediately. There is interest from the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine to send doctors to Dover for specialty rural training. When is the start date for the build? Can the town of Dover be updated in relation to the above ASAP? In the interest of transparency and increasing community concern, will the acting mayor explain the following in relation to the Dover Medical Centre proposed upgrade? Has grant funding approved for the Dover Medical Centre been returned? If so, why? Who from council consulted with doctors at the Dover Medical Centre about the required upgrade? On what date did this consultation between the councillors and the Dover Medical Centre occur? Did a full council meeting endorse the need for grant money or grant funding to be sourced for the proposed upgrade to the Dover Medical Centre? What date was the grant or the grants first applied for to upgrade the Dover Medical Centre? Who applied for the grants, and was the grant application endorsed by a full council meeting? What has occurred since the project was listed almost a year ago, April the 13th, 2021, as a priority project? Is a project to proceed? If so, who on council is managing the project and liaising with the Dover Medical Centre staff? Has there been consultation between an architect and the Dover Medical Centre staff? And if not, how quickly will this occur so that specialty planning might proceed? The response is, the funding provided from the state government as an election commitment continues to be progressed with a draft grant deed received on the 29th of March 2022 from the state government for review. This project is listed and was endorsed by Council as a priority project at its March 2021 Council meeting. Development plans for the project have been completed by the architects engaged by Council in consultation with the Dover Medical Centre team and the Ewan Regional Care as the owners of the premises. This engagement has included site meetings and the incorporation of design concepts and appropriate room layout to optimise the use of the space. Development approvals have been received. The completion of building plans for the lodgement of building approvals are progressing and is scheduled for lodgement after Easter. A draft tender has been prepared for release once final building approval has been received. The Director of Community Services is responsible for the management of this project and will provide a formal written response in full to your questions. The next question is from Philip Russell regarding DA 10/2022 58 Knights Road. Can Council confirm issue sub 56-2007 was approved with a provision for one of the lots to be subdivided, DA 10/2022? Can Council explain why only one of the approved lots under sub 56-2007 was approved for potential subdivision, DA 10/2022, and if only one, why this one? The lot in question meets planning scheme requirements for multiple dwellings under the general residential zone. As such, the multiple dwellings, one existing and one new, were approved as development application 10/22. This lot has no special provision or approval relative to any other lot created by the original subdivision sub 56/2007. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Russell. The next one we've done. Yep. Mr. Swan. Regarding my other public question provided on notice 8.1.1 page 3, I ask that Council consider once again the response provided. It is my understanding and that of an independent investigator that the question provided is incorrect. Who else on Council has access to information about the final 3 GM candidates from the 12th to the 15th of July 2021, apart from the panel? The response is, as per response in section 8.1.1, answers to previous questions taken on notice on page 3, as per the timeline in the Auditor General's report of the 12th of October 2021. First dot point. On the 4th of July 2021, the General Manager's recruitment panel members were provided a candidates report which shortlisted 14 applicants from the 85 applicants for consideration by the panel for interview. Between the 13th and the 15th of July 2021, a number of the 14 applicants were interviewed by the General Manager's recruitment panel. On the 28th of July 2021, the GM's recruitment panel recommendation was forwarded to all councillors for 3 of the applicants to be interviewed by the full council. These 3 applicants were interviewed on the 30th of July 2021. The Executive Assistant was provided the names of the 3 applicants for the purpose of greeting them at the Council chambers the morning of these interviews. To the best of our knowledge, this response is correct. And I also think that we've come to the point where I will be drawing a line in the sand on these questions. So we'll make note of that further. Mr. Swan, at the 22nd of May 2019 meeting, item number 17.013-19, about the proposed land zoning changes, Council resolved, voted in favour that letters be sent to the property owners whose properties are recommended to change to a zone that is not the matching or comparable zone to advise them of the recommendation. At the 23rd February 2022 Council meeting, I asked why this did not happen, and Council responded in part. Excuse me. Council now has the information as in investigating the particulars of mailing out to the property owners. This is not a statutory requirement under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993. When I again asked at one of the LPS information sessions on the 18th of March 2022, if Council will be mailing these ratepayers who may possibly be impacted by the LPS zone changes, the Acting Director of Environment and Development Services advised, we are doing over and above what we are required to do, and to mail out to all ratepayers is the same as a rates mail out and is too expensive. Further to my question on notice for this 30th of March 2022 meeting, asking how many of the 10,832 ratepayers may be impacted by changes to their current zone, Council has responded. There is a significant piece of analytical work that Council has not been required to undertake as part of the planning scheme process. Using data readily available on the Council's website, I was able to extract the property identifier, street name, the current zone, and the property LPS, new zone in brackets, ready for a mail merge. This exercise took me less than 20 minutes or 30 minutes. This rough analyst shows those possible impacts for better or worse is less than 7,000 properties in the following zones. Environment to land conservation, 1,144. Rural resource to environment, 35. Rural resource to rural, 3,717. Rural resource to land conservation, 850. Rural resource to agriculture, 293. Rural resource to utilities, 30. And significant agriculture to agriculture, 911. Some of these zone changes will result in people losing money through forced property devaluation. And it will mean people having to spend upwards of $20,000 for future professional planning advice. The answer to that question. Once again, oh no, still part of the question, sorry. Once again, will Council please reconsider mailing out only those potentially impacted less than 7,000 ratepayers as a matter of urgency, to at least allow the impacted ratepayers to have their submissions before the now extended 30th of April 2022 deadline. If Council will not, what is the real reason Council is now refusing to notify our ratepayers? And the response is, Council has considered mailing impacted ratepayers and determined that in the time frame provided, a letter being simply an additional source of notification is not the best use of the resources. Council has gone beyond the legislative notification requirements for providing information through, and we've done it through Huon Valley Council website, and we've had 10,122 views. The Huon Valley Council Facebook, 29,273 post impressions, 2,814 post engagements and 809 link clicks. Community information sessions, January 2022, 42 attendees, and March 2022, 84 attendees. Yuan Valley Hub information sessions, Yuan Valley Council e-newsletter, 579 subscribers receive fortnightly. Community notice boards, 15 notice boards throughout the valley, and videos that have been made and shared. To support our community to understand and respond to the changes affecting them, we have also successfully extended the permitted exhibition period by 30 days. And our planning and customer service teams are providing advice to significant members of residents to improve their understanding and support their representations. With regards to your rough analysis of affected properties, the Tasmanian Planning Scheme changes permitted and discretionary use on all properties so that any mail-out done equitably would be to all ratepayers, not just to a certain few. So thank you, Mr. Swan. (8.2) Deputations. Is there any? No. Nope. 9. Petition. General Manager, do we have any petitions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I table a petition lodged with Council 7th of March 2022 as follows. A petition regarding speed limits on Pilverata Road. The petition contains 20 signatories and complies with the requirements of section 57, subsection 2 of the Local Government Act. And the recommendation is that the petition regarding speed limits on Pilverata Road lodged with Council 7th of March 22 be received.
Okay. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Lovell and Councillor Prince. No discussion, only receiving the petition. So,
you've got to put it.
Oh, I have to put it in the vote. Sorry, guys, the box was there and I just ignored it. Okay, so all those in favour, please raise your hand. That is Councillor Gibson, Councillor Prince, Councillor Lovell, Councillor Clark, Councillor Campbell, Councillor... Yes, Councillor Newell, and Councillor O'May, and myself, that Councillor Acting Mayor Doyle. So that's all in favour, and the motion's been passed. The recommendation's been passed. I advise that the Council is acting as a planning authority as at, in accordance with the provisions of Part 2 Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulations 2015, the Council will now act as a planning authority pursuant to the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. In accordance with Regulation 25, the Council will act as a planning authority in respect of those matters appearing under item 10 on this agenda, inclusive of any supplementary items.
So Mayor, Councillor O'May is going to be leading this now.
Thank you.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, I need to correct that.
You're right. Okay, agenda item 10.003/22. Planning application for a 32-lot industrial subdivision, 29 industrial lots and 3 lots to transfer to council with an internal road at 119 Glen Road, Ewanville, CT-104694/1, sub 10-2020. I refer the councillors to the recommendations. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Gibson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor Gibson, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes. It's. I think this is a much needed light industrial area. There were a number of representations that were focused on around traffic and issues with having a light industrial area, but that's really more of a question about it being zoned as that, and that's not what this is. This recommendation is about. I guess my concern about this is over the lots being transferred to council for a nominal amount. The dam will need a lot of work to be upgraded to be a part of the stormwater system as an attenuation pond. The woodland area needs a lot of rehabilitation. Stormwater quality needs monitoring from the lots to avoid contamination of the river. So I guess noting that we're taking on considerable responsibility for these, I'd like to ask the question, is it possible for the Part 5 agreement to come back to council for discussion prior to signing?
There's a question. Do we set lock? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Councillor Gibson. I might, through you, General Manager, ask the acting, well, he's not acting in that one, is it?
Acting manager.
Infrastructure. Oh, environment, yes.
Development
Yep. Lachlan, whether he could answer that question for Councillor Gibson, please.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Through you, Acting Mayor. So we will negotiate the Part 5 agreement with the developer to determine the standard of that land and the terms under which we will receive it as a transfer, and can bring that back to council informally. Do you want to elaborate on that, Michael?
The permit conditions are the draft there at condition 11 has a provision for completion of the Part 5, which also has an associated land management plan as well. So those are details that need to be incorporated into the Part 5. In other words, what is set out in proposed condition 11 are the parameters for the Part 5, and that is something that is to be finalised between the director and the applicant on behalf of the planning authority. So those are the matters that need to be worked up and dealt with.
So I can relate them back to councillors as we move through that process via a workshop, but it wouldn't be coming to councillors for a vote.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Is there any councillor to speak against the motion? So, are there any questions?
Yes, I did have one other question. I understand that through you, Mayor, to the Director, I guess, I understand that the Glen Road Bridge upgrade is on the Council's work schedule. Do we have an approximate date for that upgrade?
The bridge isn't on our work schedule at the moment. The bridge has 77 years of remaining life on it. It was upgraded to a concrete bridge in 1998, so it's in good condition as part of our the significant bridge renewal program that we did over the last few years. It is obviously a single lane bridge, and it will obviously be subject to more traffic from a development of this nature. The road itself has 11 years of remaining life, so it's on our capital works program to be renewed at that 11-year period. Obviously is maintained during the course of its life, and council will need to monitor the impacts of traffic from such a light industrial development, and can obviously bring forward any plans in consideration of what those service levels are and what the cost to council would be.
So sometime before the bridge would be doubled to double
on its current remaining useful life.
Yeah.
Sometime is 77 years, but yeah, that bridge already as a single lane bridge is already we're at the moment looking at Lallara Bridge, which is nearby, is being moved to a double lane. So increasing the serviceability of these type of bridges is something that's already on our agenda, but it needs to be done when there's actually the utilisation that's demanding it, and then given due consideration to council what that ongoing costs and what the benefit is going to be of that. And the way that we get these things moving is to have developments of this nature that may demand this kind of investment on our roads.
Fair point.
Okay. No more questions around the table? Okay, do you want to close?
I don't think I've anything further to say.
Okay. Okay, I put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And that is Councillor Gibson, Prince, Lovell, Campbell and Clark and Doyle. And do we have Councillor Newell?
Yes, Mayor.
That's all councillors present. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, back online.
Thank you. I advise that the council is no longer acting as a planning authority as at number 11 is the general reports. The general reports and minutes are presented in relation to the following matters: the General Manager's operational report, Mayor Ender's activity, Youth Working Group Notes, 18th of February 2022, Marine Facilities Development Advisory Committee Minutes from 22 Feb 2022. Is there any councillors tabling their activities? Yeah, Councillor Lovell. And I'm tabling mine. Did you want to speak to yours? No, thank you. Okay, thank you. Do I have a, I'll refer everyone to the recommendations. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general reports and minutes from the period 1 to the 28th of February 22 be received and noted? Councillor Clark, a seconder. Councillor Lovell. Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I have no questions.
No problems. Is there a councillor to speak against the motions? Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Lovell. Oh, it's a bit loud. That was a bit loud. Sorry, Sandy.
I can't find my page, but I'm just checking whether I've got the right part. It has about our, I think it's how's it, the Honeywood Homes in Geeveston. I noticed that there was, there was one that was being refurbished or done up. I wasn't sure whether that had finished yet or not, whether someone had actually moved into that.
Okay, through you, General Manager, we might pass that on to one of your directors, if that's okay. Yes, to Rebecca, if you could answer that one for me, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Councillor Lovell, it's still undergoing refurbishment. I can follow up on a timeline of the completion of it. But yeah, then we'll be assessing or calling for applications for that unit.
And was that, it said we had a 90% occupancy, is that the one that was, like, is that just the one unit that wasn't occupied?
I think there's one at Dover, but I'll confirm that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very rare, obviously, to have units that aren't occupied. Yep.
Absolutely. I know that there's been a construction hold up for the Eastern one, and I think Dover is related to carpet layers, but I'll double check and come back to you on that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Beck.
No worries.
Okay, Councillor Newell, have
Yes.
you... Yes? Did you have any questions?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Councillor O'May, do you have a question?
No, Mayor.
Councillor Prince.
It's probably more of a comment than a question. Just noting the design concepts with the Huon Valley Youth Working Group, so I'll be interested to see those starting to pop up in the future. Hopefully it's exciting times.
Yeah, I think we need to do that every now and again, don't we? Any further questions? Is there any councillors speak against the motion? Councillor Clark, have you got any closing?
No, I'm fine, thank you, Mayor.
So, I will ask for, put the motion, to put your hands up for those for the motion. That's Councillor Gibson, Prince, Lovell, Campbell and Clark. And Councillor Newell?
Yes, Mayor.
And Councillor O'May? Yes, and you got your hand up. Thank you. Well done. So that's all councillors present, and the reports have been received and noted. Thank you. Right, what are we on to? Acting Deputy Mayor. Workshops. Oh, I was going to skip that one, but anyway. General Manager, would you like to read out the workshop that councillors have attended, please?
Thanks, Mayor. So on the 22nd of February 2022, the Director of Corporate Services provided a presentation regarding the long-term financial plan, inclusions in the upcoming budget and rate modelling. The Director of Infrastructure Services provided a presentation regarding Asset Management 101 and the 10-year program spreadsheet. On the 3rd of March, the Local Government Association of Tasmania CEO provided a presentation and led a discussion regarding land use planning, strategic planning and the Planning Authority. On the 8th of March, the Manager of Environmental Services presented the draft waste strategy in preparation for the upcoming public consultation and provided an update on the state and regional waste. On the 9th of March, the Director of Corporate Services led a discussion regarding the first cut of the budget for financial year 2022-23. This is an opportunity for councillors' input and the ability to discuss and ask questions as to its development and progress. On the 22nd of March, Director Local Government led a discussion on the opportunity for councillors and staff to work in a more constructive way going forward. And on the 24th of March, the Director of Corporate Services led a discussion on the background to the municipal revaluation due for completion by June 2022. The General Manager led a presentation and discussion on resourcing and the needs of our priorities as presented at the workshop on the 15th of February. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, considering I nearly forgot you. 13, councillors' questions. Questions taken on notice. We have questions without notice.
I have 3 questions, Mayor, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
The first one is to you as the Mayor.
No worries.
I'm aware that there's substantial concerns about the health and well-being of our council staff. Do you agree that we have a duty of care to investigate and to immediately conduct an independent confidential survey across all staff to investigate that?
I think that I will put that question to you in closed.
Okay.
I think that some of the things that we probably need to discuss about the health and well-being of staff might be a bit personal, but then we can probably bring it back out of closed, but at the moment I'm not, I don't really want to answer that one just at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second one was there have been reports of bullying of councillors that stopped open discussions about the recruitment of the General Manager and that influenced decision making. Bullying is a serious offence. The previous Mayor failed to stop this bullying. As the new acting Mayor, will you investigate the evidence of bullying that has been reported and take action with the relevant authorities?
We've had our meeting with the Director of Local Government, Matthew Healy. We discussed this on the day. So I believe that that one has been dealt with in the past, for the past, but going forward, as the acting Mayor, I'm pretty sure that I will make sure that doesn't happen. But I think that Matthew Healy has asked us to move forward. So
yeah, I was away, unfortunately, for that.
Yeah.
So I missed that
Sorry
discussion.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third question is through you to the General Manager. When you were interviewed by your partner who shortlisted you for the position, you actively participated in the conflict of interest. This flawed process has led to a massive division across the council and lack of public trust. Given our Board of Inquiry history, the only way forward, as far as I can see, is to start again. As a representative of the community, I ask, will you please do the right thing by council, staff and the Huon ratepayers and resign your position?
We'll take that on notice if that's okay, Councillor Gibson. Thank you. Do we have any other questions on notice? Yes, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm being concerned about an email that we received yesterday from a community member.
Yes.
To councillors about inappropriate text messages, which are obviously out there in the public domain.
Yes.
And they've been reported to the Director of Local Government for investigation. Could I ask whether Council will undertake an investigation to address these very serious allegations? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. The Director of Local Government has had those emails, text messages, sorry, yes. And as far as what he relayed to us in our meeting was that he has dealt with that now. But I haven't answered the text or the email that we received last night as yet, because I'm still seeking some advice on the best way to go about that. So I will take it on notice and I'll get back to you as soon as I've got some advice.
Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other questions without notice? Councillor O'May?
No, Mayor.
Councillor Newell?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor's notice of motion? No. Yep. Okay, now I can go on to the one that I was going to go on to before. Acting Deputy Mayor, Agenda 15.010-22. I refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion, please? Councillor Lovell, a seconder. Councillor Prince. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Lovell?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Is there any councillor speak against the motion? No. Councillor Newell, Councillor O'May?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions? So, Councillor Lovell. So, how do we go from here, Matthew?
Through your acting mayor,
Yep.
the process of the motion is
Yep.
to determine
Yep.
whether or not council wishes to appoint a deputy mayor and the process for it. So the
Yep.
motion will be put, and if resolved, will then call for
Yes.
nominations.
Thank you. Okay. So, Councillor Lovell, you don't... Yep, okay. Then I put the motion. All those in favour? That's Councillor Gibson, Prince, Lovell, Campbell and Clark and Doyle. And Councillor O'May has his hand up. And Councillor Newell?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. So that's all in favour, and the motion is carried. Okay.
So acting mayor, you would now call for nominations from
Okay.
councillors.
So can I do by show of hands? No? Yep.
May nominate themselves.
Okay. Can I have some nominations for deputy acting deputy mayor, please?
Yeah, can I make a nomination, Mayor?
Yes, you may.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Sue Clark for Deputy Mayor, please.
No problems. Does he need a seconder for that? No? Okay.
Acceptance from the councillor.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Councillor Gibson?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Prince.
Thank you. Do we have any others, guys? No? So to the Director of Corporate Services, we have two.
Just please give me a moment, acting mayor. I need to prepare the ballot papers. So acting mayor, for the purposes of the ballot and for those online too, there are two candidates for the position of acting mayor, Councillor Clark and Councillor Prince. The ballot papers are to be completed, 3 for your favoured candidate and 2 for the next candidate. For the councillors who are online, you understand who's been nominated?
Yes, Matt.
Councillor O'May?
Councillor O'May?
Yes, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
So those online will be sending a text message to myself just so the public knows that that's how the voting will be undertaken.
Thank you.
I haven't got your number, Matt, so I'll send a message to Sandy.
Yep, no problem.
Sandy, Councillor Gibson's just having... Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. We have a clear result. Councillor Prince received 19 votes. Councillor Clark received 21 votes. Councillor Clark is declared elected.
Congratulations, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, and thank you to those that voted for me. And it was very close, Robbie, Councillor Prince. And I will endeavour to do my best to assist the Mayor in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we don't have to do anything more on that one, Matthew? It's dealt with now. I would just like to say to the gallery that, how important it is to actually have an acting deputy mayor, because as of today I have a very sick grandson and I didn't have someone to take the meeting. So yeah, you don't realise until you don't have one. So thank you very much to Councillor Prince and Councillor Clark for putting their hand up, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you. Okay, sale of public land, a portion of council land, Tennis Court Road, Ewanville, 15.011/22. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Lovell, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Clark? No. Councillor Lovell, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor. This was pretty straightforward.
Okay, do we have a councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any questions?
Through you, Mayor. I'd just like to ask whether there has a price been established for that, or is that in closed council? It's a private matter.
Okay, I'll ask that through Matthew.
Through you, Acting Mayor, that was discussed at the previous meeting where this came up, so it was raised in closed council.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, so that's all councillors, and the motion is carried. COVID Recovery Program Fund, 15.012/22. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion, please? Councillor Gibson, and a seconder. Councillor Lovell, Councillor Gibson, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think that transferring the rest of the COVID recovery grant into the food resilience strategy is a good move. Everything we can do for community resilience in the Huron with everything that seems to be coming down the tubes with COVID and petrol prices, everything, all of those things. Anything we can do for community resilience is a good thing.
Thank you very much for that. Is there anyone to speak against the motion? Or did I ask for questions? Did I ask? No.
Can I speak for
Yes. You can have, yeah.
Through you, Mayor, I just was really surprised that the town team's community grant program was so low on the uptake.
Yeah.
But I am happy for that to be reallocated. So, yeah, I'm just surprised.
Yeah, okay. Is there any other questions? Sorry, guys. Is there any other questions? Or no? No? Okay. So no one to speak against the motion? Then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
Councillor O'May there, so that's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. Jayton, we've got... Yes. Yep, that's it. Oh, we've got a different... Okay, the Geefton Town Hall Controlling Authority Directory vacancy 15.013/22. This was from the beginning when, yep, as an urgent matter. Yep. Okay, so I'll refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Lovell, do I have a seconder? Councillor Prince? Councillor Lovell, do you need to speak to this? No, thank you. Okay. Is there a councillor to speak against? Yes, coming to question, yes.
Question through you to the director.
Yes.
I'm just a little confused about, what happened. Did Mr. Cool sort of not ever want to be a director, or did it? I read through it, but I was not quite clear about what's actually happened there.
Yes, to you.
So through you, Acting Mayor, Mr. Cool was originally going to be one of the foundation members as the original GTH co-board. Yes. It was actually on the afternoon of the council meeting when the other independent members of the board were appointed, and Mr. Cool had put his resignation both for GTH Co and the controlling authority at that time. Obviously, by personal reasons for doing that, and that's his business.
Sure.
Yes, and what we didn't pick up was the fact that he was still listed as a first director.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay. So no other questions? No councillors speak against the motion? Then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'May. That's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. The next one was the other urgent one, and that was the Tas Water Owners Representative Group Representative Appointments 15.014/22. Do I have a, I'll refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion?
Acting Mayor, just before, just to clarify, this report has both a recommendation and an alternate.
And an alternate,
so in
yes.
the circumstances where the Acting Deputy Mayor has been appointed, it would simply be the recommendation. The Acting Deputy Mayor would be the Deputy Representative.
Okay. So do I still just then go through?
You ask a councillor to move, and the recommendation is a motion.
Yep. So, as we said, it's a recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Clark? And Councillor Seconder? Councillor Gibson? Councillor Clark, do you wish
Can I
Yes?
make an amendment to that? Sorry, not an amendment. I'd like to move the alternate motion in that instance, please.
Yeah.
For the, and
Do you have
I'd
time
like
to
to
get a
move it.
seconder for that now or not? No?
Yes. So the motion that Councillor Clark moved was actually the alternate, so you need a seconder for that.
Okay, do we have, yes? Councillor Campbell? Okay. So now we're referring to the alternate motion. So do I have a councillor to speak against that alternate motion?
Can I ask a question of, just point of clarification? So through you to
yeah.
Councillor Clark. So
Yeah.
you'd prefer that the General Manager is the...
I'd like to speak to that and say that I believe that the General Manager has the more qualifications than I have, certainly if I have to attend any of those meetings, and I believe that the General Manager should be, a part of that. That's my reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is there any other questions? Yes, Councillor Prince.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, probably just would like to hear the sort of the General Manager's thoughts, if that's possible. Thank you.
I'm happy, obviously, and we are only talking about in the case that the acting mayor can't be there. So it is an unexpected position where I'll take that voting role. So I'm happy to support in that respect.
Okay.
The wishes of Councillor.
Can I just ask one more question? How unusual is it to have a general manager on the ORG group? Is that
On the ones that I've gone as proxy for the mayor,
Yeah.
I've always gone with the general manager or the
Okay.
acting general manager.
you go with them anyway?
I'll go with them anyway, yes. Or we
So-
do it online.
So then, if you were having to look after
Something
something
else?
else, then you'd go on your own. Whereas, if Councillor Clark was there, at least you could have representatives from
Yes.
staff and council.
That's correct.
So you would actually have the general manager with you anyway. Does that change things or not?
No, I don't think so.
I guess in that instance, yes, I would consider withdrawing that because I wasn't aware of that. So I'm happy to withdraw my motion.
All right, so then...
So we're back to the motion.
Yeah, we're back to the original motion, which is the recommendation. So do I have a councillor to move the recommendation?
Oh, that was already moved.
That was already moved, but wasn't that the alternative?
No.
Councillor Clark moved the alternative effectively, so it would just be a councillor to move this as a motion.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a councillor to move. Yep, was Councillor Prince and Councillor Lovell. Do I now have anybody to speak against? Is there any other questions? No? Okay. So, I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
I think you had yours up before, didn't you, Councillor O'May? Yes, thank you. That's all councillors, and the recommendation has been received. Okay?
Has been carried.
Received, yeah. The financial report 16.005/22. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Yes, Councillor Campbell. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Lovell. Councillor Campbell, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'd just like to say that having David providing us with the financial reports and the summaries he gives us are absolutely outstanding, and for me it's been a real learning curve in terms of really being able to understand well the presentations that he gives, and every time we have a workshop we learn something new. So I'm very thankful to David for all the hard work that his team does. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure he appreciates that, Councillor Campbell. Is there any councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? And I think Councillor O'May has his hand up. Is that correct? You've got a question, Councillor O'May?
Sorry, Mayor. I have my hand up in regards to questions 4, and I just would like to reiterate Councillor Campbell's comments. I think our director, Spinks, has done an amazing job of his presentations, and it's a pleasure to work with somebody who can put a very big budget across in layman's terms where we can all understand it. So I'd just like to offer my support for him and his department of doing a very good job also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'May. Do we have any other questions? Comments? No? So as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, I then will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'May. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. I now would like to, no, not this one, sorry, I've got myself ahead of time. The agenda number 17.003/22, request for a certificate under section 138Y of the Land Titles Act 1980 relating to land at Riley's Creek Road, Geeston, CT 204991/1. I refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Yes, Councillor Lovell, a seconder. Yes, Councillor Gibson. Do you wish to speak on this, Councillor Lovell?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Is there a councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? As there are no councillors to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'May. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. I'm up to that one at a time. Yep. 17.004/22, the draft waste strategy. I refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have that? Oh, okay. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor.
Please move an amendment to this motion, please.
Yes.
Sam's just turning it around. I'm sorry that I got this very late to everyone. That A, the report on the draft waste strategy be received and noted. B, the draft waste strategy included as attachment A to this report amended by replacing the action set out in clause 3.1.3 on page 1 of the strategy to investigate options regarding waste transfer and disposal in Geeston. And second dot point, replacing the KPI set out in clause 3.1.3 on page 1 of the strategy to a report to the council by December 2023. And C, the draft waste strategy included as attachment A to this report as amended be released for community engagement at the consult level for a period of 4 weeks and be made available to the public via council's website and customer service centre.
Yep, you want to speak? Yep.
Yeah, just a point of clarity there, Councillor Lovell, that your first dot point under dot point B,
yes.
It just says page 1, and just clarifying that as 21.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, just so for everyone's reference.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so do I have a...
I'll second it. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Do you get to speak to your
Yes, thank you.
amended motion?
So, looking through the strategy, so I suppose putting forward that we're actually changing it from closing Geeston Waste Transfer Station by 2024, changing that to actually investigating options regarding waste transfer and disposal in Geeston. And why I put this forward is Geeston's a low socioeconomic town in our Huon Valley, and so I really think it's detrimental to take out a core service from a town like that. We got our child and family centre put into Geeston because of that status that we have for our families. If we think dumping is bad now, taking a waste transfer station out
out of a low socioeconomic town will only inflame that. So I'd really like support to look at those options, whether that could be pulling back some of the days at Geeveston, looking at investing into that site, because I don't believe it's been invested in or kept to standard. But whatever, just investigating, trying to keep that core service that is part of what council should be delivering in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a councillor to speak against the motion? The amended motion?
Could I ask a question first?
Yes. Well, it's next, yes. But
Through,
yes, yes.
through you, Mayor. I guess my question is, I would have thought that this has been investigated, and that's why the proposal is there for the Geeveston one to be closed, with Southbridge only sort of 20 minutes away, and it needs a lot of work, the Geeveston one, from what I understand, and there's the environmental protection notice on it. Anyway, I guess could we just have a comment from or some discussion from the...
Can I comment on that?
Wait, yeah, we might go to, if that's okay, and we'll just go to the Director of, Acting Director. Yes, could you, yep, thanks Lockie.
Through you, Acting. So look, yes, it has been considered, Councillor Gibson, you're correct, but noting Councillor Lovell's concerns, there's always an opportunity to make that clearer, exactly what that looks like, and you'd note that part of this strategy really is about understanding our base position and the focus on data in year one. Which, you know, I consider if this change is progressed, this is part of that. It doesn't preclude us still closing Geeveston if we can make the case a stronger case for it. Councillor Gibson, you're correct in that we do have an environmental protection notice on the site, and there is a risk to council that the EPA can vary those conditions and make them more stringent. And it's in council's interest to get on with the actions under that notice and get the site remediated, and that is certainly easier the sooner we close it. There's also the cost of running these sites like Geeveston, the other transfer stations, the internal transfer costs between the stations to get them to Southbridge to then ship them out to landfill out of the municipal area are costing all residents, including those residents of Geeveston, and are reflected in the tipping fees. So it really is, in simple terms, an offset between the 20-minute drive versus that higher cost of tipping at Geeveston, which is levelised across all those all those sites, but is ultimately tipping at Southbridge is cheaper than tipping at Geeveston, and that's then reflected and the cost shared across the entire community in the same way that it is for Cygnet, in the same way that it is for Dover. So if we investigate this, or if we bring forward the detail of these considerations in line with what you're asking for, Councillor Lovell, more than prepared to do that. But it will be, ultimately there's an economic argument around, and economic, environmental protection, safety arguments, all in favour, and all have already been reviewed in terms of why we believe that Geeveston should actually be closed quite quickly.
Thank you. Okay, so...
Councillor Lovell wanted to...
I have a question.
Oh, me too, Sue.
Yeah, okay. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. So I had there, Matthew, that I asked them when they're speaking against it before I asked questions. Is that incorrect?
It can be done anyway through the process.
Okay, so if they've got a question. Okay, Councillor Newell, and then I'll come back to Councillor Clark. Thank you, Councillor Newell.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we have spoken about this at a workshop once before the closing of the Geeveston disposal site, and I think we have to remember that people from Mountain River, Crabtree, Pelverada, Judbury, Lonavale, they all have to travel more distance than from Geeveston to the Southbridge site, and I think for the good of all ratepayers, we need to centralise this service. I mean, 20 minutes from Geeveston to Southbridge is on a very bad day. Really 10 to 15 minutes, I would say, is all it takes to get to the tip. And I honestly think the sooner we get it, the better off the ratepayers of the valley will be.
Thank you, Councillor Newell. Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I would like to just refer to what Councillor Newell was saying about the travelling time, because there are a lot of properties and districts and people live way out further than Geeveston that use that tip site. It's because it's a vast area down there, so it takes a lot longer than 20 minutes for some of them to get there. It would probably be like 30 or 40 minutes. But that wasn't my main question. I'm in favour of giving the extra time to investigate that. I think that's it's a really good thing to be able to do, to let the community know we are trying to keep that if possible. And the other thing is, I just think in that time frame you've got there, is the 2-year time frame in that action plan there. Should that be brought back to 1? Because you've only said to be referred to 2023, and yet there's a 2-year time frame on it. So should that be altered to 1? Are you with where I'm referring to? On the actual here, on the.
Oh, on the thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would bring it to the end of, you mean, is the end of this year?
It's just a clarification of that.
Okay, sorry.
It's just a clarification, really, on that. On page, I'm not sure what page it's on, but it's to do with that.
Yep. Okay. Page, is it 19?
And you're saying on page 21?
Page 21 of
yes.
49.
Yes.
Have you,
yep.
Are you with it?
Yes, I am.
So where it says you've changed those to the action and the KPIs, you also need to change the time frame. Does that need to go in the recommendation? Or do you want to leave it at 2 years? Is that going to matter?
It would be in our interest to address that as quickly as possible, so within year 1, so that we can have that engagement with the community on this topic. And remember, what's in front of you tonight is around the strategy that we're going to put to the community. There's then an engagement process around that for their consideration and feedback. So it's in our interest to, I would shift that if the motion is passed, to also address the end date, to make it, say, the end of this year, so that we can move this one along and then have an understanding of what action is going to be taken.
Okay, so we change that to 1 to 1 year. That was my. Thank you.
Okay, so that is that an amendment to the amendment? Do we, or is that's already in the draft? It's in the strategy, isn't it? We're talking about.
I would suggest that we change it to year 1 rather than
Yep.
2023.
Yep. Just change the wording there.
So just
Yep.
change the wording there.
Yep. Okay, to year 1. Yep. Yep. Okay. All right. Yes, you'd like to speak? Yes, you'd like to ask a question? Yes?
No.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes, actually, I would like to ask a question.
Yep.
Of the General Manager, please, through you, Chair. As far as Geeveston's concerned, I understand you've been and visited Geeveston. I know of a resident who works part-time and volunteering at all the TIP sites, and he said to me as a councillor that he was most concerned as a volunteer working at Geeveston. He said it's there's so much to be remediated there that the cost of it is quite prohibitive for council, because it's he said it's something that's got to happen, and because he works, you know, every week with all the different council sites, I can understand why Councillor Lovell is concerned about her community, but I also think we have to be concerned about educating all communities about waste. And I think that, you know, there's been a lot of effort gone into the waste strategy by our team, and I think to actually knock it back again when we've had a number of workshops on waste is really, I think, demoralising for them. So I'm just would like to speak against it for those reasons, because we always listen to, you know, our professionals, and I think in this case I think we should.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Campbell. Anybody else like to have a question? Or yes, Councillor Prince?
Probably have a go at doing both in the same one here. Just for clarification, Councillor Lovell, you're not seeking to stop any of this happening. You're just having it so that we're investigating the option for Geeveston rather than it will be closed by this date. Is that my understanding?
Yes, Councillor Prince. So it's not necessarily saying that Geeveston TIP stays open. It's investigating options that, and that obviously I'm not the person investigating, but that could mean there could be another option in Geeveston somewhere else, because I do understand that site has not been kept up to standard over the years. Not at all suggesting that we knock back the strategy one single little bit, because I appreciate the work that's been done on it. But as we did with our visitor information centres, we actually requested a special report, even just on each centre separated. And I guess that's what I'm saying in a sense. I want to have the opportunity that it's completely brought out in a sense, and we've investigated it, and our community has had every opportunity to go, well, we've exhausted everything possible that council can do. And I believe that they deserve that, because it is our core business. That is one of the things, and it's just like, you know, we say we spend money on our doctors and we spend money on our sports centres. Our waste transfer stations in low socioeconomic towns needs to be, and I'm not saying it's been taken lightly, but I think it deserves a little bit more attention.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask one question? Councillor Lovell, so with the community engagement, is that the opportunity for the community to actually, you know, come back to the council through that community engagement? Is that, because that's my understanding of what will happen with the document, that it will go out to community engagement? Is that?
So that obviously will be part of it, because that's for a whole strategy. I'm asking for this to be treated a little bit different in a sense, so that it gets to come back to us with a report that there possibly could be other options. I have no doubt during the consultation period that there will be people that will be voicing what they would like, and again, when that report comes, I hope that people would voice again, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, Councillor O'May, are you got anything to say, or are you right?
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity. I understand how Councillor Lovell feels here. None of us really want to have any reductions of services in our area. And as Glen Ewan once had a tip, and it's been closed down, and a few others as well, we have to drive a long way. But I do believe her idea of potentially looking at other areas has merit. But after all the workshops we've been to and the focus on centralisation, it just seems like a bit of a backward step, really. But at the end of the day, if there's something that Councillor Lovell can suggest would come in short term, then I could potentially support it. How long would you believe that this further period would require, Councillor Lovell?
I think we've just talked about that. I think in altering the amended motion from 2023 to 1 year, is that correct? In the first year. So within the first year, Councillor O'May.
Right, okay, well that's what I thought it was. So I just think that that's, yes, it's just prolonging it further and further. So, but anyway, if there was to be some other, something good and concrete to come out of it, but it's sort of, it would be wonderful, but it just not on that, that avenue on its own. There's the other issues of the cost to ratepayers throughout the community as well. There's quite a few contributing factors there we've got to look at, which, in fairness to other ratepayers, it's difficult to try and prolong it for too long. So it's a difficult one to support or not to support for me. Sorry, Mayor, it's a little bit of a wish list, but yeah, we've got to have some focus at the same time. So
that's okay.
Yeah, that's all I can say. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson?
I'd just like to say that the strategy is excellent, and it's been a little bit eclipsed by this amendment. I'd just like to congratulate the staff on what they've done, and just the emphasis of personalised personal incentives and making sure that the reverse triangle is understood and focused on, so that at the very beginning of the waste strategy, that we don't actually create waste. We try to avoid creating it. So I just wanted that to be out there. Yep. As far as this amendment, I don't really support any delay, but I do support Councillor Lovell's idea that a report be done for the public, so that they understand clearly what the rationale is for closing the
Thank you. That's
thing, because I think otherwise there's going to be
so I mean, I'm under the same as you, Councillor Gibson. I totally support Councillor Lovell's amendment, mainly because I think it would give the people of Geeveston, whether it's the answer they want, a proper answer with some data. I appreciate also all the work that's gone into this. This has been happening since we sort of basically came on council. And so on one desk has been 2 strategies, which has been very hard. So I'm very pleased that this has come forward. There's a campaign in Tasmania for to reduce the illegal dumping. So as Councillor Lovell said, we already have a bit of a dumping problem. We don't want to add to it. So what we've come up with some solutions for Geeveston. If we can't have the transfer station there, we need to do that. And I know that that's being looked at, and I know it will be looked at, and it will come up in public consultation. But for tonight, I do think, for the public's point of view, that I understand where Councillor Lovell's coming from. So, okay, all right. So yes, you've got it. Yep. Just going to say, yep.
minimise the time rather than taking, up till December 2023. I mean, as Councillor Gibson suggested, could we do something like something for the public in a shorter space of time? Because each time we delay something,
Yep.
it is quite demoralising. So,
Yep.
could we think about, a much earlier time? Because a year's a long time in a waste strategy.
Can I, through you, General Manager, can I go back to Lachlan to clarify, with when we say in the first year, can we do that? Can we?
Yeah, I'm happy for
Yeah.
Lachlan to share. I sort of refer to the waste strategy, and it does talk about June 24 anyway as the timeline
So
we're
there was
putting
a
in.
2-year.
Yeah, so I think that
So this is bringing it forward.
a year to do the review and then another year to implement whatever the finding is, assuming it's a closure, would still be in keeping with the strategy.
So it's not going to really impact on the staff with what they're doing?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Lockie, help me if that's different.
Yeah,
to
no,
what's in the strategy.
confirming that it won't. It's still in keeping with the timeframe. It's just an additional step to give residents the comfort that's being asked for. I would also refer you all to page 2349 at item 4.3.5, which relates specifically to the can we find an alternative location? Because, part of this strategy is an assessment of the appropriateness of Southbridge as the primary waste transfer station and what it looks like under a future growth scenario for the Huon Valley and whether it remains in the place that it currently remains. So it's not like Geeston's the only one that we're looking at, and really I see this is an opportunity that Councillor Lovell's bringing in that just raises the bar on the discussion we need to have with the Geeston community, starting from the engagement process of this report, of this strategy, and going all the way through and including around when we consider sites and consider placement of Southbridge's future, we're also considering Geeston along that journey, and that's a year 2 action on the time frame. So nothing we're discussing here, what Councillor Lovell's asking for does not delay that development and working through of the strategy.
Yes, Councillor Gibson.
Quick question.
Yes.
Through to the director.
Yes.
Should we mention something about a report going to the community, or is that taken as read?
My expectation would be that we specifically address this during the consultation process so that we know as soon as possible. And the motion as it stands, I believe, is to change this to a year 1 activity, which gives us some time to then just incorporate this into and address the strategy properly. Whether councillors want a particular a report or otherwise, like dedicated just to this one, remains to be what the motion actually looks like.
Okay, through you, General Manager, do we now vote on the amended motion? Yep. Okay, all right. So, as in no, we have had Councillor speak against the motion. So then I'll put the motion.
Can we just have a closing?
Oh, sorry. No, I don't think so. Yes, you can.
Don't be like that, Sarah.
Sorry, Councillor Lovell.
No, that's all right. Sorry, excuse me. So, thank you for listening. And yeah, I do want to say I'm really impressed with the draft strategy, and I know there's a lot of stuff that will come out of it that we can be excited about as a valley.
Yeah.
And I'm really, that was one of my big things about the assessment of the long-term appropriateness of Southbridge as a primary waste transfer station. So I'm interested to see where that goes in the next term as well. So yeah, thank you.
No problems. Okay. So, and I'll put the amended motion forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Newell?
Yes, Mayor.
Councillor O'May? Yes. So that's all councillors present and the motion, amended motion has been carried. Okay. It's that time again to advise that the council is about to go into closed council. Thank you to the people who have joined us. Thank you very much, Dr. Smith, and to Toby for staying and hanging in there, who joined us in the gallery this evening, and to those who took the time to watch the meeting online this evening. The next meeting of the ordinary meeting of council is Wednesday the 27th of April. The recommendation is that the meeting now be closed to the public at 7:55. Pursuant to the Regulation 15 of the Meeting Procedures Regulation to discuss the following matters. I'll read them out. Yep. Confirmation of closed minutes, general reports closed council, outstanding debt write-off closed council, status reporting, outstanding accounts receivable closed council, lease rental relief closed council, 2022 volunteer service awards closed council, and tendered TN 177 in closed council. Do I have a councillor to move a motion to move into closed? Councillor Prince, and a seconder, Councillor Gibson. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. That's all present and the motion has been carried. I advise that in accordance with the Huon Valley Council auto recording of council meeting policy, recording of the open session of the meeting ceased at 7:55.